Hello, good morning, and welcome to Tangle Time Arts. My name is Nana Heron, and I'm a certified Zentangle teacher. And I'm excited to be here today for day 5 of my impromptu Advent Tangles project. And this was planned to be the Tangle of the week. I think we're on number 48. And the tangle I had chosen is Vertigo, which is this lovely. It reminds me of an evergreen or pine boughs. So we're gonna make a wreath with that, and we're also gonna add in a bonus with Bownus from Angie Gittles, CZT. And we're gonna start with that. But first, we need to get our supplies together. I will be using a Zendala. If you don't have one, you need something round to draw a circle with, and you want it to be about 4.5 inches in diameter, like 4.5 inches around. And you can use white paper. You don't need the tan. I'm using a Renaissance Zendala. You can use white paper. That's totally fine. I am using a black pen for this, and I have a number 2 pencil and a tortillon. Since I'm using the colored paper, I do have my trusty white chalk pencil for adding some highlights if I decide to do that. And I also do have a glitter gel pen. You could use a metallic one, or you could skip that part. And we'll be adding color to this wreath. So I just have a basic set of Crayola, the 12-pack, the colored pencils. You don't need anything fancy, just things you might gather around the house. And with that, we're going to get started. We're going to actually start with the bonus, which is Bownus. And we're just going to dive right into that. So let me set my other tools aside and take my black pen. I'm using an apprentice pen, which is an 05, and it has the plastic nib. And this always works better for me because it's a little bit longer and it's easier for me to hold. But you can use any black pen that you have. Bownus starts with a circle. And if you're picturing a wreath on here, I'm going to put a little bow at the top. All right. So we're going to start, and we're not going to draw a string on here. We're just going to kind of visualize where we want things to go and just let it flow from there. So we're going to start with a circle and draw aura around that. So if you think of that as almost the size maybe of your pen cap, it's roughly about the same, maybe a little smaller. And then from there, we're going to draw a loop. And then we're going to draw another one opposite that. And we want 6 of these, so we're gonna have to kind of go about a third of the way. Put one there, and another third of the way. Put one there. And I'm gonna go opposite that one and opposite this one. So from this point, we just put a little curve on each of our loops. And don't stress about the spacing, because even when you tie your bows with ribbon, they're not all going to be the same. At least mine aren't. From this point, we're going to connect this over to the other loop. And I like to add kind of a little dip in there. So it's not a straight line, it's a little curvy. This one's going to be a much wider one. And this is a thinner one. All right, so we've got a little bow. We can add a little detail. So we're going to do an aura along this area of the loop on each one. And we can also do that on the other side. And you want to rotate your tile so that you're comfortable each time until you've made it all the way around. So there we have our cute little bow or bonus there. And let me just make sure that we're all focused. Yeah, okay. Now we're going to work on vertigo. In case you're wondering about the spelling, let me put those on the back right now. So we had our bonus, which is bonus, and now we're going to do vertigo. V-E-R-D-I, verti, kind of implying green, and then G-O-G-H as in Van Gogh. So vertigo. So for this one, we're going to start with our central, it's not like a branch, but it's the central part of the tangle. And I'm just going to kind of make a curved line. And then I'm going to aura that. I'm just going to do a point for these. And we'll go back in and fill in later. And then I'm going to do a second one because I'm going to do a section of vertigo and then another section and then the same on this side. So this project's going to take a little longer. So I'm going to do another one of these. Just kind of block that in. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Make sure I have enough space here. And you want them sort of symmetrical, but they don't have to be totally symmetrical. And once you have these in, I'm going to turn this around this way and work from this way. Now we're going to put in our little pine needles. And since I'm doing the original vertigo, I'm going to do them with kind of the squarish ends. You could still do the points like I did here. If you would prefer, these could also be the square type ends. That's fine. But my needles are definitely going to be the square type. So we can start anywhere you want to, but I'm going to kind of start at the bottom of the little stem part. And I'm just going to put a line with a curve, a little line down, and then I'm just going to aura that. And then I'm going to mirror that on the other side. So our first set of needles are going to be opposite each other. They don't have to be all the same length. I usually actually try to make them longer at the base. Now, because we have a bow here, I'm going to put one at the end. And I could mirror that. So you have to kind of picture that it's behind the bow and then come out. on the other side. So you could just get part of the needle. I'm going to come up here and finish this off like that. And I think I'm going to go ahead and put in my initial needles on this part here. So we're going to do the same thing with our opposites. And if you prefer needles that come to a point, you can leave them like that. That's fine. I'm going to do another set right at the end here. Now the fun part, well, we're already having fun, but the extra fun part begins because we are going to be drawing behind, kind of like the hollowbah style. So we're using that hollowbah technique where we draw behind because we need to add more pine needles. We just don't have enough. So I'm going to start with these two because it's easier to see. And I'm going to start over here. And I'm just picking an area where I have space. And I'm kind of having the needles go in a different direction. When we reach a previous needle, we pick up our pen and continue on to the other side and then finish our needle off. Do the same thing coming back. So we're drawing behind other needles. I'm going to put one, and these don't have to be opposite each other. When you start layering, they're kind of going to fit in wherever they fit in. I'm going to do one over here. That. Let's continue down here with the same principle. What I will say is that even though these don't necessarily match up, if I put in a needle on the left, I will put one in on the right so that I'm always alternating back and forth. That way it looks more balanced. And then we're going to do another layer. So I feel like there's some space in here. So I'm just going to, at this point, add something there. Just want to make sure to get that filled in because it looked a little empty. So now with the third layer, we're still drawing behind, but it's much more of a process of filling in your space. So you're looking for areas that maybe have like a gap. Do you see where there's kind of like a gap in there? And then you can put something in. Now this one didn't go behind anything, and that's okay because later something will go behind it. constantly just looking back and forth and filling in. And these are really all different sizes. So maybe I'll put in some shorter ones here. Let me see how it looks from this angle. Lots of rotating with this one for sure. I'm going to add a little bit extra here because we have some emptiness up here and I just wanted a little bit in the back. So with our final touches, it's literally a process of looking and adding to fill those empty spots. So I'm going to leave that like that for now, and I'm going to move over to the other side and do the same, the similar. It will not look exactly the same as this because there is some randomness to it, and that's what I love about it. All right, so let's go back this way, and we're going to start with our initial needles, which are going to be opposite each other. Put some in here. Maybe I want a pointy one. And some people actually like, instead of pointed or squarish, they like more of a rounded tip on it. And that's fine. That's totally fine. You will get to know what you prefer. Try all the different ones and see what you like. And then I'm going to go off on this branch here. So right now we're alternating. And this is running into the other side, which is cool. Because that's what would happen with a real evergreen wreath. All right, so we have our initial pairings for our needles. Now we're going to go back in and start drawing behind and filling in those areas. So my needles are sort of straight. They might have a little bit of a curve to them. Let's see here. Let's go over here. And we'll put another one here. Like that. going down the line here. So we're really just repeating the same strokes, the same step over and over again. But with the drawing behind, it really looks, there's a lot of depth to it, and it has this very natural look to it. And let's do this. All right, so we've gone through 2 times. Now we need to go a 3rd time. So you can definitely see the difference between this side where we went through 4 times and this side where we went through twice. Okay, we're just getting something that looks a lot more full on this side, but this will happen. Don't worry, we'll get there. Okay, so I'm gonna just come through, and I actually just need another needle here. Doesn't have to go behind anything, but remember the needles get a little shorter as we get to the end. Let's see. Got a gap there to fill in. So my eye is always looking for those areas that have kind of a space in them, and we want to fill that space with more pine needles. I think this one's going to go backwards a little bit. All right. Got a space here. So now we're going back through, this is kind of our 4th layer, I believe. We're going back through and really looking for areas that seem a bit empty. And we've got some emptiness here. And some emptiness here. And here. Okay, let me see, what do I have? Got some space in here. And of course, we need to add a little bit up in this area. So let's, now I'm looking at it this way, trying to match what I've got over there. So let's go with that. And maybe we could do something like this. Could have another pine needle coming out here. Like that. So when you're happy with how it looks with adding pine needles, and you can take, I would suggest, and I can't really do that on the camera, but I would really suggest holding it up at arm's length and taking a look at it. And just from here, I feel like I need something else in here. All right, it's a little more full. So hold it up, take a look at it. If you need to, this might be a good time to take a little break because this is a little bit of a longer project. When you come back, just take a quick peek and see if you need to add anything anywhere. And I think I'm going to add one here. Like that. And I think I am actually done adding pine needles. And at this point, what I like to add are a few little berries. And I am probably going to color these berries red. So with berries, and these are just little orbs, I like to just tuck them in. Sometimes you'll see a place like here. It's a little empty, kind of needs something. So I'm just going to put in a little orb, a little berry. And I could add another one here. They don't all have to be the same size either. So you can just add them here and there. I add them kind of sparingly, but sometimes I like to tuck them into a space like this. That looks like an interesting space for a berry. And let's put one over here. I'm gonna put another one in here. So you're just tucking them in randomly where you feel like it would be cute to have a berry. Of course, this is optional. If you don't want berries, you don't have to add them. And we can add them on the inside too. So let me take a look. I think I will tuck one in here. And then another one. Maybe he's gonna go right in here. And sometimes later when I'm coloring, I will go back and add more berries. So there's always the option to add more berries. The only thing is we can't take them out. All right, so I'm not counting. I'm just going by the visual look of them. And I think I'm going to just add one right here. All righty. And do I want another one? Maybe right in here. Okay. So I'm happy with that. Like I said, we can always add more berries. So for shading, there's not a lot of shading. You can add a little graphite along the initial twig part. They're not really branches, but and we had a second one here, so I'm going to add a little shading there. I'm going to do the same on this side. So Vertigo, I almost always teach it by itself because there's a lot of layers there. And even though it's the same stroke over and over again, there's a level of complexity to it. But it's possible because we do it one step at a time, one stroke at a time. All right. And I think I will add shading around my bow. And I could add a little shading here. So if you're not coloring, you probably want to add a little shading here. And you might want to add some shading in these areas. So I will be coloring, but I'm just going to put this in so that you know where to put it. Coloring is definitely optional. All right. And then you want to take your tortillon. So pencil aside and take your tortillon. And we are just going to shade along here. And shade along here. Goes very quickly. You don't have to do a lot. It's just a light back and forth motion of the tortillon on the paper, very lightly. I feel like the Renaissance paper is a little softer. And then I'll go around my bow. And then I'll go in these areas here and around that initial circle. For me, that's pretty much enough shading. You could go back in and add shading hollow style, like in these areas here, where you have the needles behind another needle. But since I'm adding color, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to now switch to my colors. I'm going to start with my bow. And I'm going to go with a red bow. So I am actually going to, let's start with the larger one that I have here. I'm going to add pressure kind of at the bottom here where we had our shading. And then kind of lighten the pressure. I'm leaving this part not colored because I'm going to go in with my chalk pencil. But if you don't have a chalk pencil, you can just go right ahead and color over that. So darker, more pressure towards the center. And then lighter as you work your way out. So just by doing that, we're adding some dimension to it. All right. So I'm going to set my red. pencil aside, and then I'm going to take my chalk pencil and just add a little bit of highlight here to the ribbon. I love how the white chalk pencil looks on this tile. All right. If you would like to add color inside here, I would just add just the faintest bit of red. I'm hardly touching the paper. Go in and add a little pressure along the left-hand side. So I want that darker. All right, cute. Now I think I will take brown. And you can choose whatever colors you want. I'm just improvising here and selecting colors that I feel would look cool for this one. And I'm adding brown to our initial twig part. Again, dark at the base and a little lighter at the end. Like that. So these colored pencils, it's a pack of 12 from Crayola. I use them all the time. I know some people like to go out and buy the most expensive ones, or they'll get a pack of 50 or 100, but you don't really need all those many colors because you can blend and you can combine. So that's what I find most fun, is actually blending and combining. But if you prefer having a pack of 50 or 100, go for it. All right. Then from here, I'm going to take green. Now in this box of 12, there are 2 greens. I'm taking the darker one, which is just green. And then I'm going to color in my pine needles. So you can start anywhere you want to. Again, darker at the bottom, lighter at the tops. Trying to get my original needles first, and those are the ones that appear to be on top. And then going back in and getting the other needles. So there's no rules with the order of coloring. It's however you like to fill them in. Right now I'm working on the ones on the inside. Now I'll go back and get the ones on the outside. We have one side done. That looks cute. And then we're going to do the other side. And at this point, if you feel like you're coloring and you come across an area that could use some extra needles, you can just pick up your pen and add that in. Berries too. Okay, one tucked in down here. Okay. All right, now let's go to the outside here. Probably best to work with a sharp green pencil or a pretty sharp green pencil because these needles are pretty thin. Once I have the green in, I can go back in with the yellow green if I'd like to and just add that to the points. Oh, I have to sharpen this. It's broke. I'm pretty sure it's broken, but we'll see how far we get. Um, let's see. I can see it's kind of moving there, but we might be able to get through. Again, this part's optional, so if you don't want to add that layer of the lighter green, don't do it. If you want to go in with a darker green, let's say you have a darker green and you'd like to go in closer to the base, you can do that. It's entirely up to you. Play around with it and see what works best for you. Don't be afraid to try new things. That's how you find your style and unleash your creativity. All right. So I'm just adding a very tiny amount of the yellow green. It's very subtle. I think it shows up better in person than on the camera. All right, cute. And then we can go back in with a red pencil and get our berries. Now, if you have a red gel pen, you can go in with that. That would look really, really cute. But not everyone has a red gel pen. So I'm just going to use the red from my pack of 12, but I'm pressing really hard. And I'm using a circular motion. And in some areas, leaving kind of a highlight, not filling it in solid if I can help it. Sometimes it just gets filled in, but if I can help it, I'm just leaving a tiny area of a highlight. And then what I can do with that is with my chalk pencil, I can just add a tiny bit of white to make it more of a highlight. It's just a little bit more of a highlight. All right. So lots of pressure. Leave a little highlight if you can. Don't stress if you can't. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. Okay. So I've got those in there and I'm taking a look. Now is the time, especially when you can take a look and see if you want to add another berry or two. And I think I do. So I'm going to add a berry in here. And I think I want to add a berry up here. And with my orbs, I'm going around twice just to define it better. All right, let's see. What am I thinking? All right, I'll take my red pencil, fill these in. Again, with a lot of pressure. Oops, sorry. Add a highlight. like that. Cute. And now, if you have a metallic gel pen or a glitter gel pen, we can just go in and add this, some tiny little speckles, sparkle here and there. This is optional. Some people like sparkle, some don't. And again, at this point, I would encourage you to hold it up and check and see if you want to add more sparkle somewhere. And I'm going to continue in these kind of emptier areas, just with a little sparkle. That. And I'm also going to add this to my ribbon. So those areas where we kind of have the stripes. Missed a spot there. And then you have to decide for the center if you want to fill in the center or if you want to do this area around the center. So I'm going to do the area around it and leave the center like that. All right, how cute is that? Super cute. We've got a little bit of sparkle in there, if you can see the sparkle. And we need to put our initials in there. So where am I going to put my initials? I'm just going to tuck them in with the needle leaves here. I see a little spot here where I can put my initials. Like that. Super cute. I'm thinking maybe I want another berry like right in there or there. But I can always add that later. So yours will look a little different from mine because the placement of the needles and the berries is totally random, but it should look similar. You can always go back in and add more needles and add more berries if you'd like. Let's finish this off by putting our information on the back. And this was for the 5th. And these were our Advent Tangles. And we did Bownus, and that's by Angie Gittles. And she's a CZT. I'm sorry if I mispronounced her name. And Vertigo is by Zentangle. And Vertigo was actually our Tangle of the Week. And I believe we're on 48. So it's kind of a 2-in-1 thing. But I had planned Vertigo a long time ago to do that on in December. All right. Super cute, super fun. It has a more natural look to it. Play around with it and try the different types of needles, either pointed or squarish or round. try different paper types, try coloring it or not coloring it. And you could actually add more bows too if you wanted. You could have a bow here or here. You can just do all sorts of things. Instead of leaving this open, you can just make that a circle. So much possibility with Vertigo. Really cool. If you like botanical tangles and things that look nature-like, this is going to be one of your go-to tangles. All right, this has been so much fun. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I did, and I really enjoyed working on a Zendala and using the tan colored paper, the Renaissance paper. All right, I'll see you back tomorrow for day 6. I've got a couple of things I'm considering, so we'll see. But it's going to be a shorter project. So have fun, take care, and remember, I love you guys. You guys are doing an amazing job. You guys are so awesome. All right, see you tomorrow. Bye.